Somewhere deep in the Amazon rainforest, Anna brings the jeep to a stop. She tells her companion they'll have to travel by boat from here on out, and the journey will take them a couple of days. The man tells they shouldn't be here at all. Anna insists they have to continue, believing whatever awaits them on the other side will be worth the risk. When her reassurance fails to convince him, Anna decides to continue the rest of the journey on her own. Just then, she notices two men running toward her. She flees the area in a panic. As the men try to pursue her by boat, one of them is suddenly attacked and devoured by a massive anaconda. Meanwhile, in Buffalo, Doug pitches an idea for an engagement announcement video. He suggests opening with a shot of the milky moon, then craning down to reveal a quiet suburban street. As pulsating music kicks in, a huge, slimy monster slithers out of a sewer grate. The couple quickly tell Doug they don't want their announcement video to be that dramatic. Doug fires back that he doesn't think of these as videos, but short films. The couple pushes back, wanting something normal, like the last video Doug shot for a couple by a river. Doug reminds them they said they were horror fans and insists this is the video they'll watch for the rest of their lives. Still, the couple firmly says no. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Griff is warming up for a small role in a TV series. He tells his makeup artist that he really needs to nail this job, as he hasn't had many acting opportunities lately. She wishes him luck. At the shooting spot, Griff delivers his lines using a heavy accent. The director yells "cut" and asks him to say the dialogue naturally. Griff tries a different accent instead. After multiple failed takes, he is ultimately fired from the role. Griff walks out of the set heartbroken. As he wanders down the street, he comes across a poster for Anaconda, the movie he and his friends love so much, though he hasn't seen them in a long time. Just then, Griff's phone buzzes with a voicemail from his childhood best friend, Doug. In the message, Doug says he ran into Griff's mother and heard about his new gig. He congratulates him warmly and invites him to come visit Buffalo sometime. Meanwhile, Doug is startled when his boss approaches him, asking about the sewer monster idea he pitched to clients earlier. Doug sighs. His boss says he understands that shooting wedding and engagement videos isn't what Doug wants to be doing. After all, Doug's real dream is to direct a film. Still, he explains that he plans to retire soon, and when he does, the company will be Doug's. With that security, Doug could live a comfortable B-plus life. That night, Doug's wife, Maylee, asks if he wants anything for his birthday. He says no. She reminds him that he used to celebrate his half-birthdays. Doug shrugs and suggests they just watch a movie together. When they arrive home, Doug is surprised to find that Maylee has planned a surprise birthday party for him. His son, Charlie, wishes him a happy birthday, and then Kenny, one of Doug's childhood friends, hands him a basket filled with lotions. Claire, also one of Doug's childhood friends, hugs him warmly. Doug asks about Griff, and Claire says he decided not to come, only for Griff to suddenly appear and surprise him. Griff then entertains the guests. He says that a long time ago, a group of passionate artists had a vision that wasn't entirely original, but it was theirs, and they made it real. He holds up a CD of The Quatch, directed by Doug and shot by Kenny. Doug is stunned that the copy still exists. Griff explains that he found it in his mom's garage. Maylee asks if the film is appropriate for kids. Doug reassures her that their teacher made them bleep out all the swear words so they could show it at a school assembly. They watch as a young Doug runs away from a bear, which then slaps him. The scene then cuts to a younger Claire declaring that she bleeping loves Griff, followed by the two of them kissing. Watching the scene now, Claire tells Doug she can't believe he convinced her to kiss Griff, but Griff quickly points out that it was entirely her idea. In the movie, Griff volunteers to kill the bear. Before doing so, he confidently declares, "Not on my watch, mister." Everyone applauds. Doug turns to Griff and tells him it's the best birthday present he's ever received. The next day, the group goes out to a restaurant, reminiscing about their college days and their shared love for Anaconda, which came out shortly after they graduated. Griff adds that the cast is phenomenal and laughs that they actually watched it more than 30 times. Then they reenact dialogues from the movie. At that moment, Griff reveals that he has the rights to Anaconda. He explains that the Anaconda novel was written by a deceased Japanese author, and his agent introduced him to the author's widow, who happened to be a fan of the series SWAT, which Griff starred in, so she granted him the rights. Griff tells the group that he plans to reboot Anaconda movie in the Amazon rainforest with their help. He offers Doug the chance to direct it, with Claire and himself starring, and Kenny as the cameraman. Kenny agrees immediately, but Doug declines. Claire tells Griff that she's not in the right headspace due to her ongoing divorce. Griff argues that this project would be a great distraction. Claire finally agrees. Griff tells Claire that after Doug says yes, she'll have to finance the whole thing. Claire is shocked. Doug explains to Griff that he can't commit to the project because he has responsibilities, taking care of his wife and son. He tells Griff that with this job, he could live a B-plus life. Trent reminds Doug of how they used to watch movies together and dream about making one, and that now they finally have the opportunity. Still, Doug remains unconvinced. That night, Doug arrives home to find his son watching Quatch, the movie he directed. He later tells Maylee about Griff's movie idea, and she encourages him to go for it, saying she knows that's when he's happiest. But Doug insists he's done chasing the Hollywood dream he had as a kid. While editing his client video, Doug realizes he doesn't want to be stuck doing this forever. He drives to Griff's house and agrees to reboot Anaconda. Doug starts writing the script. Later, they discuss the budget. Doug estimates that considering 3 weeks of shooting, VFX and some SFX, plus renting a riverboat and captain to navigate the jungle, and the cost of a giant snake, they'll need about $2.5 million. But they only manage to secure a loan of up to $40,000. Then they discuss themes. Doug insists it can't just be about a snake killing people. They brainstorm central ideas and decide to explore intergenerational trauma as the core theme. Days later, the group reads the script and they like it. Kenny apologizes to Doug for their little dust-up and says he's committed to shooting this film. Trent asks him what happened. Kenny explains that Doug fired him from the wedding video shoot after he fell into the wedding cake because he was drunk. He adds that he's working on getting sober. Doug decides to give him a second chance. Just then, their car arrives, and Charlie gives his father a trophy as a gift. Eventually, the group arrives in Brazil. Doug explains that he read an article about anacondas, claiming they can stay underwater for days while stalking their prey, then strike suddenly, crushing their prey with nearly 1,000 pounds of pressure. Griff doesn't believe him. Suddenly, a man steps forward and confirms the story is true. He explains that it once happened to his horrible grandmother, who was squeezed so tightly, her eyeballs popped out. Kenny, unsettled, asks who he is. The man introduces himself as Santiago, the snake handler Kenny hired. Meanwhile, Anna slips into a bar to hide from the men chasing her. She grabs a knife from behind the counter, just in case. Back with the group, Santiago explains that he once found his snake dying of starvation, its food supply destroyed by gold miners who had polluted the river with mercury. He says, with pride, that he nursed the snake back to health. He then introduces them to his anaconda, Hater. Santiago adds that there are rumors of anacondas 5 times larger than Hater. Curious, Kenny asks if it's true that anacondas regurgitate their prey. Santiago says it does happen, explaining that if the victim is lucky, they die the first time by suffocation. If not, the snake returns later to finish the job. Inside the bar, Anna notices the keys to a boat belonging to a man passed out nearby. She grabs the keys and runs. Anna approaches the group and lies, saying her father, who was supposed to take them, can't make it because he's been rushed to the hospital. She tells them they'll need to find another boat, explaining that this one needs to be taken out for routine service. She assures them they'll receive a full refund. The group panics. Kenny tells Anna that they plan to reboot Anaconda. Griff quickly clarifies that it's more of a reimagining. Anna glances back and notices the men moving closer. Reluctantly, she agrees to take them. They all board the boat. Anna starts the engine as the group settles in. Back at the port, one of the men demands that the staff pull up a list of every boat that left in the last 30 minutes. Night falls. The group raises a toast to the movie gods, a ritual they perform before every shoot for good luck. The next day marks the official start of filming. In behind-the-scenes footage, Doug explains the premise. The movie follows an intrepid biologist named Bella, who hires an unhinged snake tracker, Derek, to hunt down and kill a giant mythical anaconda after it devoured her entire family. On a deeper level, Doug says, the film is about chasing one's dreams. Then Griff adds that it's a delight working with Doug. He says it was always their plan to go to Los Angeles together to chase their Hollywood dreams. But Doug never came. Now, Griff says, it finally feels like it might happen. He also jokes that the toothpick he's chewing gives his character an edge, though it keeps stabbing him in the mouth. Next, Claire says she isn't nervous about doing a love scene with Griff again. Kenny asks if she's sure, given that they used to date. Claire brushes it off, saying it was a long time ago. Griff asks if they want to do one more take. Doug says they already got a good one. Claire smiles and says it's okay. They can do it again. That night, Doug brings up the chemistry between Griff and Claire. Griff brushes it off, saying it was all in the notes. Doug doesn't believe him. After a moment, Griff admits that he feels more passionate about this movie than he ever did about the SWAT series he starred in for a few episodes. Doug nods, understanding. Later that night, the entire group has dinner together and discusses the script. Around midnight, Hater escapes from his crate. The snake slithers into Griff's room, startling him awake. Griff gathers everyone and confronts Kenny, asking how he convinced them Santiago was a professional if he can't even properly secure a snake in a crate. Santiago reassures them, insisting that Aitor is harmless and that he has everything under control. He promises nothing will happen to anyone. The next morning, Anna studies a map. Nearby, Griff is shaken by how close Hator is to him. Doug calls for a break, and Griff admits that seeing the snake up close is terrifying. He asks whether his character really needs to put himself directly in front of the snake to save Claire's character. Doug explains that it's essential to the character arc and an important moment in the story, reassuring Griff that Santiago has the snake under control and there's nothing to worry about. Griff remains uneasy. He delivers his line, telling Claire's character to leave without him, but finds it increasingly difficult to focus with Hator so close. In a panic, Griff grabs the snake and throws it into the water, where Hator is immediately shredded by the boat's motor. The group is horrified. Santiago's face falls. That night, Santiago gives a heartfelt speech at a makeshift funeral for Hator. He then asks Griff to leave. Griff argues that the snake tried to kill him. Doug steps in and tells Griff to leave. Santiago burns Hator's remains and sings a song that was special between him and the snake. One by one, the group quietly joins in. From a distance, the men searching for Anna spy the boat. Later, Griff brings out some beers and apologizes to Santiago. He says he lost a friend once too, and it still hurts. A snake? Santiago asks. No, Griff replies. Just a human person. Santiago accepts the apology. Griff then talks about his time on the SWAT series, mentioning he starred in a few episodes. Santiago reveals that he's a huge fan. Griff explains that at the end of Season 3, the directors decided they didn't need his character anymore. Yet the show went on for 8 seasons. Santiago tells him they didn't deserve him and says he likes him. Griff returns the sentiment. Santiago promises he'll find a new snake for the movie. Griff thanks him. Santiago nods and says Griff should help him. The two head deep into the forest, water rising up to their hips. Griff panics, but Santiago reassures him that he knows what he's doing. He explains that anacondas can sense people through the vibrations of their footsteps. Griff turns around for a moment. When he looks back, Santiago is gone. He calls out his name, but the only response is a sharp hissing sound. Terrified, Griff runs back toward the boat. Meanwhile, Santiago lights a flare to see his surroundings, only to be suddenly crushed by the massive anaconda. Griff reaches the boat and tells Doug what happened. Doug insists Santiago is a professional who knows his way around and will be back soon. If not, Doug says, they'll go look for him. An hour passes. Griff says he's going out to search for Santiago. Claire insists they all go together. The group ventures into the forest with Anna. Doug notices a camper van nearby, and they head toward it. Meanwhile, the men chasing Anna board the boat and find it empty. One of them orders the others to search deeper into the forest. Back with the group, they enter the van and hear a faint slithering sound. Everyone freezes, holding their breath. Suddenly, Santiago's body slams into the windshield. Griff tries to start the van, but it doesn't start. Kenny says the van must have a split-charge battery and needs to be started from under the hood. Claire asks Kenny to fix it, but he admits he's drunk. Doug yells at Kenny for lying about trying to stay sober and asks if he has another bottle. Claire insists Griff fix the engine anyway, but Griff argues that he's better at driving. Doug snaps back, reminding him that he passed his driving test on the first try, while Griff took 3 attempts. Griff admits that he didn't understand yield signs back then, but he does now. In the end, Doug steps out and carefully reconnects the wires. The van roars back to life. The noise alerts the Anaconda, which immediately begins attacking. Griff floors the gas, driving blindly through the jungle. The men spot the van and give chase. Claire tells Griff to stop so they can ask for help, but Anna urgently says no. She explains that they're illegal gold miners who patrol the jungle and are extremely dangerous. The men open fire on the van. Anna frantically searches for a weapon and finds a rifle. She fires back at them as Kenny records the chaos. Eventually, the group makes it back to the boat, only to find a man waiting for them. He demands to know where the woman is. The group looks at one another, confused. until Anna suddenly appears and knocks the man unconscious. Later, Anna tells Doug and Griff that they need to head north. In a day or two, she says, they'll reach a small airport. Griff is disappointed and insists they should finish the film, but Doug shuts him down, saying their safety comes first. Doug pulls out a small trophy his son gave him and stares at it for a moment. Then he starts revising the script, this time including Anna. By the next morning, Doug finishes the revised script and presents it to the group. He explains that Claire's and Griff's characters discover Anna, who is on a mission to expose the illegal gold miners, raising the stakes of the story. Doug continues, while the duo believes they're hunting a mythical anaconda, they end up confronting the real villain, the illegal gold miners. The group is excited. Griff says that they might even win an award. Kenny nods and adds that the Academy loves social horror. Filming resumes, Doug praises Anna's performance as Griff and Claire watch from the sidelines. Griff tells Doug that if Anna's character saves everyone, his character doesn't have much to do. Claire agrees, saying Derek saving Bella is the moment she falls in love with him because of his heroism. Doug listens before saying this is Anna's moment to shine, especially since she saved them in real life. He tells Griff and Claire to take the rest of the day off, explaining that all the remaining scenes are with Anna. That night, Claire tells Griff that Doug is being unfair by cutting them out. Griff shrugs it off, saying, that's show business. Then he asks Claire if she ever woke up one day and wondered what she had done with her life. Every day, Claire admits. She tells Griff that at least he had the courage to go after what he wanted, while she played it safe and went to law school instead. Griff points out that at least she has a career. He admits he has a terrible apartment, a 70-year-old roommate, and no family or career. Nothing to show for his life. Claire tells him it's never too late. The next morning, Doug asks Griff to get ready, but Griff tells him that Doug doesn't really need him anymore. He jokes that Doug might as well call the movie Anaconda, since Anna is the real star now. Griff adds that if it weren't for him, Doug would still be in Buffalo shooting wedding videos. Films, Doug corrects him. Griff fires back, saying he was the one who vouched for Doug to the rights holders. At that moment, another boat passes them, fully equipped with professional film gear. Doug calls out, asking if they're shooting a movie. A woman on the boat replies yes, and adds that they're doing a reboot of Anaconda. She mentions that Sony is producing it. The group turns to look at Griff. Griff admits he doesn't actually hold the rights and asks who really owns them. Claire answers flatly, Sony. Doug explodes, furious that Griff lied to them, dragged them all the way here and nearly got them killed. Griff argues that if he hadn't lied, none of them would have agreed to come. He throws Doug's past back at him, saying that Doug never came to LA because fear has controlled his entire life. Doug fires him on the spot. Griff calmly replies that Doug can't fire him, because he already quit the night before. He says he didn't tell anyone. Then he walks away. Griff packs his bag and prepares to leave on a small boat. Claire stops him and asks where he's going. He tells her he's going to find the Anaconda boat and then head home. She warns him it isn't safe, but he leaves anyway. Sometime later, Griff spots the boat, now sunken. He sees the same woman from earlier screaming for help. Moments later, she's dragged and devoured by an anaconda. Terrified, Griff turns back. Back on the main boat, Doug tells Claire and Kenny that Anna has found a perfect location to shoot. No one is excited. Everyone is shaken by Griff's departure. Claire insists they turn back, but Doug refuses. Anna agrees with Doug, then suddenly raises her rifle at them. Everyone freezes. Anna orders them off the boat and forces them into the dense jungle. Meanwhile, Griff returns to the boat and finds it abandoned. He then discovers several guns hidden in the small boat. Taking one, he heads into the forest. Back with the group, Anna orders everyone to carry a bag toward the boat. Doug asks what's inside. Anna tells him to open it. Doug finds gold. Claire realizes the truth. Anna is an illegal gold miner. Doug throws one of the bags in the water. Suddenly, a man with a rifle steps out and orders everyone not to move. He explains that he and his team work for the government to capture illegal gold miners, and that Anna runs the largest operation in Brazil. The group exhales in relief. Then Griff appears and shoots the man, looking momentarily triumphant, until Doug yells that the man was a police officer. Anna retrieves her gun and finishes the officer off. She orders Claire to get on her knees. Claire breaks down, sobbing, lying that she has children back home. When Anna is distracted, Claire lunges and grabs the gun. Anna smugly says that Claire doesn't have the guts to shoot. Suddenly, a massive anaconda snatches Anna and drags her into the water. The group runs. Along the way, Doug is bitten by a spider, likely venomous. Kenny says someone has to pee on the bite. Griff agrees. Doug asks who's going to do it. Griff says he's dehydrated and Claire argues that she's wearing a onesie. Doug orders Kenny to do it, but Kenny refuses. When Claire asks why, Doug explains that Kenny is pee-shy. Kenny admits he has severe urinary stage fright and hasn't been able to urinate in public for 35 years. After a series of awkward attempts, Kenny finally manages to pee sitting down. The group cheers. They continue toward the boat. As they walk, Doug apologizes to Griff for what he said earlier. He admits he's always been jealous that Griff had the courage to go after what he wanted. Before Griff can respond, a giant anaconda lunges out and swallows Doug whole. Claire grabs Griff as he stands frozen in shock. Griff beats himself up, saying Doug is dead because of his lie. Claire tells him they're all here because they chose to be. Griff shakes his head and says, "It should have been him." Kenny tells the group he's found a way back to the boat but warns that it's an open field, so they can't just run across without a distraction. Just then, they hear a snake hissing nearby. Griff follows the sound and discovers Doug's body lying near a boar. They gather around, mourning their fallen friend. Griff tells Kenny to check Doug's pulse. Kenny does, and grimly announces that Doug is dead. He then adds that they could use Doug's body as a distraction. That's exactly what they do. Before they move, Kenny stuffs a dead squirrel into Doug's mouth, explaining that snakes love squirrel meat. They take off running. Then Kenny spots the anaconda looming behind Doug's body. He hands the binoculars to Griff, who looks and suddenly shouts that Doug is alive. Griff yells at Kenny, asking if he actually checked Doug's pulse. Kenny insists he did. Doug suddenly notices the group and realizes what's happening. Everyone screams at him to run. Doug bolts as the anaconda chases after him. The group runs for their lives. In the chaos, the boar also springs back to life. Doug narrowly escapes the snake, diving out of its reach at the last second. After a long run, they finally stop to catch their breath. Everyone asks Doug how he's feeling. Doug says he feels fine, then asks whose idea it was to put a dead squirrel in his mouth. Kenny says it was a group decision and reminds him that snakes love squirrel meat. Doug pauses, then realizes it was actually his idea. Eventually, the group stumbles upon Sony's Anaconda set, completely destroyed. Griff tries using the radio, but it's dead. Behind them, a massive anaconda rises. Just as all hope seems lost, they're saved by none other than the legendary Ice Cube himself. The group immediately freaks out. Ice Cube calmly gets them to safety. He explains that the snake tore through the set and everyone scattered. Claire asks about J-Lo. Ice Cube says she's safe, but he doesn't know what happened to Eric Stoltz. Doug declares that they need to kill the anaconda before it kills them. Griff asks Ice Cube how they were supposed to kill it in the original script. Ice Cube shrugs and says the writer never finished the third act. All he knows is that they were setting up pyrotechnics all over the set. Doug turns to Kenny and asks if he knows how to ignite pyro. Kenny nods. Ice Cube says he has to go find J-Lo and Stoltz. Before he leaves, the group asks for a photo. He reluctantly agrees, on the condition they don't post it anywhere. He then hands Griff a flare gun for safety and heads off. Doug springs into action. He tells Griff to take the detonator from Kenny, asks Claire to start the engine, and instructs Kenny to set up the cameras. He explains that he and Griff will lure the snake into the pyro field and kill it. They execute the plan. As the anaconda chases them, Doug tells Griff to hit the detonator as soon as they reach the field. Griff presses the button. Nothing happens. Back at the set, Kenny and Claire panic when the field doesn't go off. Then Kenny realizes the problem. He never turned on the switch. The pyrotechnics suddenly ignite, detonating one by one. The explosions rock the field, but the anaconda survives. As it slithers toward them, Griff steps forward, raises the flare gun, and declares, "Not on my watch, mister." He fires. The snake is injured, but still alive. Doug steps forward and finishes it off by smashing it with the award. Sometime later, Doug and Griff give a speech at an international film festival for their unauthorized illegal reboot of Anaconda. They don't receive a distribution deal. Griff and Claire get married and ask Doug to direct their wedding film. Griff also lands another role on SWAT. Finally, Doug is approached by Jennifer Lopez, who asks him to direct her next movie. Doug promptly faints. In the end, Santiago also survives.